Raj Narain was a Fijian-born Indian living in Viti, Lavu, Fiji. She was born on May 15, 1963, and was nicknamed Lali, which means little daughter in Hindi. Growing up, she was very close to her mother and brothers Jay, Bobby Prasad and Bireen Prasad. Raj would meet Ashok Narayan, who was settled in the United States, through her brothers soon. Raj and Ashok would get married in 1983 through an arranged ceremony. The couple will settle in Eugene, Oregon with their family's blessing. Raj was the first of her family to leave their island of Miti, Lavu, Fiji, after settling in the United States. Raj would often send letters and audio tapes back to her family regularly. The family got to know through the letters and photos that Raj had given birth to a baby girl. On June 29, 1986, the name, the baby girl Kamni. But sometime in 1987, her family stopped receiving letters and audio tapes from her. At first, her family was not worried, thinking she may have gotten busy with work and taking care of Harmony. Meanwhile, on September 11, 1987, 3 fishermen discovered a body of a female with severed legs and head in the Louis River, near Woodland, Washington. A few days later, her legs would be found in the Willamette River, in Portland, Oregon. Almost 2 weeks later, another fisherman found a toddler's body floating in the Cowlitz River, near Longview, Washington. An autopsy revealed the woman was 2 months pregnant at the time of her death and had given birth at least once before. According to the coroner's report, she had died of homicidal violence of undetermined type. Please believe the woman could have been a Latino or a Native American. The woman was estimated to be of about 5 foot 3 inches, or 5 foot 4 inches tall, and weighed around 110 to 120 pounds. Her body had been dismembered after she had died, and her head has never been found. The toddler's autopsy revealed she had been beaten, and her cause of death was blunt force trauma to the head. Since there was no missing persons report that matched either of the victims, police were unable to identify them. Police believed both victims may have been related and were buried side by side in Longview Memorial Park. Over the years, police investigated multiple leads, but the victims remained unidentified. Then in 2004, Roger's brother, Jack Rassad, who had moved to Australia, tried to search the internet to find anything about her sister. However, Jack could not find any trace of her and got worried. He tried to report her missing, but was advised to hire a private investigator instead. In 2006, Ashok's brother reported Ashok missing. He told the police that Ashok was last heard from in April of 1988. He also reported that Ashok's wife and daughter were also missing. Then one day, Jack Russell and Ashok's brother, while searching the internet, came across a Seattle Post-Intelligence story about a baby Jane Doe. Jay almost immediately recognized the forensic sketch provided in the article. The sketch had an uncanny resemblance to the photos of company that his sister Raj had sent between 1986 and 1987. In the article, he found other details that made him sure it was comedy, and that the other victim was his sister. Raj, Ashruk's brother, was convinced as well that the bodies found with out of Raj and Comedy Jay then flew to the United States and provided DNA sample to the Kelso Police Department. DNA samples were also taken from as family members in Fiji and matched with the victims. On September 25, 2007, police announced that the DNAs were a match and confirmed that the victims were indeed Raj and her daughter Harmony. Raj was 24 years old, while Kamani was just 15 months old when they both were killed. In October 2007, Raj and Kamani's bodies were exhumed and returned to Fiji. Her family cremated them in a Hindu ceremony. Ashok was last seen in 1980, a year after his wife and daughter's body were found. But for some reason, he hadn't reported them missing. Authorities are still looking for him. He's not considered a suspect yet, but police would like to question him. Ashok's car, a 1980 Toyota Torso with the license plate number KUV7. 62 is also missing and has never been found. There have been no updates in the case since, and it remains unsolved. Fawn Mountain was a 25-year-old woman living in Claysburg, Pennsylvania growing up. Fawn was described as a friendly and outgoing girl. However, Fawn had a very dysfunctional family, and she had suffered sexual abuse several times. This led to Fawn having major trust issues, but despite this, Fawn was loyal to her friends and cared about her mother Dorothy, despite them having their ups and downs in their relationship. Due to the trauma and abuse she experienced in an early life, Fawn would often get into abusive relationships. Fawn seemed to always attract the wrong guys, and in one of those relationships, she would give birth to 2 children. At an early age, the relationship was quite abusive, and she endured several years of suffering. He would ultimately leave her, and Fawn would also lose custody of her 2 children. This devastated her, and she started taking drugs and alcohol, and got into several other abusive relationships. She would give birth to another child or daughter, but unfortunately, the baby was stillborn. Fawn cremated her and found comfort in keeping her ashes close to her. In 2009, Fawn would meet Heather Debert in an Altoona nightclub called The Island. This was her first relationship with a woman, but the connection was almost instant, and the relationship moved pretty fast. Within a few months of dating, Heather would ask Fawn to move in with her. Fawn told her mother Dorothy that if I go with Heather to Claysburg, I'm never coming back to Altoona. This made Dorothy extremely worried. Fawn would soon move in with Heather in a trailer home in Banks Millcote, Claysburg, Pennsylvania. Heather's brother Mike and his girlfriend Stephanie also lived in a trailer next to Heather and Fawn's trailer. Heather's family owned a butcher shop in Claysburg, and Heather and Mike worked there. Mike's girlfriend Stephanie became good friends with Fawn, and she was worried about her, as Heather was temperamental and extremely possessive. Heather had multiple restraining orders against her from past relationships. She was allegedly described as manipulative, possessive, controlling, and violent. According to several protection from abuse documents filed against her by her former partners, Heather had difficulty in maintaining healthy boundaries in her relationships. After Fawn moved in with Heather, initially everything seemed fine in the relationship. But soon Heather would start dictating Fawn's life. She never left Fawn out of her sight. She would take Fawn with her to work and logged her in the car while she worked. Sometimes she left Fawn in the trailer and put paddle locks on the door from outside so that Fawn could not leave. She did not allow Fawn to have her own cell phone and would forward all of her calls to her own cell phone. Fawn was never allowed to work or socialize with any of her friends. Despite this, Fawn did not see it as controlling, but that Heather cared about her so much that she was protecting her. Soon the abuse would turn physical. One day, Fawn's mother noticed that Fawn was covering her neck with her large hooded sweatshirt. After pressing Fawn about the matter, Fawn took down the hoodie and revealed bruises on her neck and arms. She told her mother that one night, Heather came back from the bar drunk and choked her, and that this was not the first time. Fawn had been to the hospital many times due to the physical abuse, so much that the hospital staff got concerned and asked her if she was experiencing abuse at home. After which, Heather started taking her to different hospitals. Eventually, the abuse became too much for Fawn to handle, and Fawn would run away many times from Heather. But every time, Heather would find her and bring her back. In 2011, Fawn decided to run away and start a new life. One day, Heather took Fawn to work and locked her in the car, as she usually did, but this time, Fawn was able to escape and call a friend to pick her up. Fawn then asked her friend to take her back to the trailer, as she needed to pick her daughter's ashes. However, when they got there, Fawn realized she did not have the keys to the trailer, so Fawn tried to break the lock. Heather immediately called the police and told them that Fawn was breaking into her trailer. Fawn was charged with burglary, trespassing, and was ordered by the code to pay $2,700. A few months later, Heather made Fawn file a restraining order against her own mother, even though Fawn and her mother had their ups and downs. Fawn would always run back to her mother. Fawn felt isolated and had no one to talk to, except Stephanie, Heather's brother's girlfriend. Fawn would often talk to her through the windows while she was locked in the trailer. One day, while doing her daily checks on Fawn, Heather's mother noticed Stephanie and Fawn talking. She told Heather about it, and shortly after, Heather boarded up all the windows. In October of 2012, Fawn again escaped and ran back to her mother. Despite the restraining order against her own mother, Heather found out and contacted police. Fawn's mother, Dorothy, was arrested and had to spend 2 days in jail. Despite the restraining order and having to spend 2 days in jail, Dorothy was extremely concerned about her daughter. She called police and asked them to do a welfare check on Fawn to see if she was okay. The police told Dorothy that they did welfare check and Fawn was fine. The last welfare check was in November 2nd, 2012. On November 25th, 2012, Fawn spent her time with Heather and her family at the butcher shop, helping them clean and sterilize it for the hunting season. Heather, Heather's brother Mike, Mike's girlfriend, Stephanie, and Fawn then headed back to their trailer. The next morning, Stephanie and Mike were getting ready to go to the butcher shop and noticed Heather smoking a cigarette all alone outside her trailer. Fawn was nowhere to be seen. When asked where Fawn was, Heather said that she woke up around 3 a.m. to go to the bathroom and noticed that Fawn was missing. Fawn had left all her belongings and the urn containing her daughter's ashes in the trailer. Her daughter's ashes was the most important thing to her, and she would not have left anywhere without it. Moreover, Fawn left in the middle of the night, without taking any of her jackets or hoodies, to protect her from the cold winter. Strangely, Heather was very calm about Fawn's disappearance, and did not try to find her in the weeks that followed. For 6 years, Heather would lose her mind. Every time Fawn would go out of her sight, she would look for her everywhere. Stephanie was worried, since Fawn would have first come to her if she had decided to leave. She contacted Dorothy to ask if Fawn was with her, but Dorothy told her that she hadn't seen her since October. Dorothy tried to report Fawn missing, but the police told her that Fawn was an adult and they could not file a missing persons report. Dorothy has cognitive deficiency, and she did not know what else she could do or whom she could contact. She thought she had given police all the information and that they probably had filed a report, but that was not the case. Suspiciously, friends said that only a week after Fawn went missing, Heather asked her father to remodel the trailer. A week later, Heather moved to Ohio and returned 2 months later with her new girlfriend, whom she later married 6 months later. Heather's parents closed and sold their butcher shop. When asked where Fawn was, Heather would tell people that she was in jail in Ohio, or that she ran away, or that she was working as a sex worker in New York. In April of 2015, Fawn's family tried to find her because her stepfather was dying in the hospital. A family friend visited the trailer and asked Heather about Fawn. Heather told the person that Fawn had ran away 3 years ago. The family learned that Fawn Social Security checks were being sent to the trailer, even though Fawn was not there. Dorothy then registered a complaint to the Social Security office that Fawn was probably not receiving the checks. They sent a notice to the trailer asking for Fawn to come to the office if she wanted to continue to receive those checks. Fawn never did it as at this point. The Fawn was officially reported missing. The police interviewed family and friends, but nothing much was done after that, as Fawn was already missing for 3 years. There were no clues or lead that they could investigate. It is unclear if Heather is considered a suspect in Fawn's disappearance. Fawn remains missing to this day.